In this video, we're going to talk about some of the initial steps to filing a lawsuit in New York. Step number 1, evaluate the case. Before filing a lawsuit, it is important for you to speak with an attorney who will help you evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of your case to make sure that the case is one worth bringing. As attorneys, we have an obligation to our clients to tell them the truth about the strengths of their case. We are also ethically obligated to refrain from filing frivolous lawsuits. So it's important for you to speak with your attorney to make sure that the case is one the attorney can bring in good faith. Step number 2, identify the appropriate court. Now, after you've discussed the merits of the case with your attorney, the next step is for the attorney to determine which court in New York to bring the case in. Now, New York has several different courts with different jurisdictions that the attorney has to take into consideration. And those courts include the Supreme Court of New York, the Civil Court, and of course the federal courts. Now, after you've given the attorney the facts of the case, he or she should be able to determine which court to bring the case in. Step number 3, prepare the required documents. Now, filing a lawsuit in New York requires the attorney, in most cases, to prepare a summons and complaint. Now, the summons is a document that put the other party on the party of the case in notice that you commence a lawsuit against them. The complaint identifies the particulars of your claims. You may also include supporting documents with the summons and complaint, like evidence. Your attorney should be able to have you prepare these documents to make sure that they're filed correctly and properly so that you avoid any unnecessary delays down the line. Step number 4, pay the filing fees. Now, parties who are filing lawsuits in New York must pay a filing fee in most cases. And the filing fee is dependent upon the nature of the case and the court that you bring the case in. And again, your attorney should be able to tell you what those fees are, not only at the initial stage of the case, but also moving forward. Step number 5, serve the defendant. Now, after you file the summons and complaint, you must serve a copy of the summons and complaint on the defendant or the defendant's attorney. Once you serve those documents on the defendant, a clock starts requiring the defendants to answer within a certain amount of time. And there are rules in New York that you have to follow to make sure that service is done properly. Your attorney should be able to make sure that you follow those rules. And lastly, step number 6, wait for a response. Now, after you serve the summons and complaint on the defendant has a certain amount of time, like I mentioned before, to answer the summons and complaint. If they fail to answer within that time frame, there are other implications that come into play, and we'll discuss those in the next video, but they must answer. They can either answer the complaint or they can move to dismiss. All right, so these are some of the initial steps to filing a lawsuit in New York. I'll see you next video.